Hey, what's up team? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology. This video is on the NT types. I call them alchemists, Kiersey calls them rationals, and let's get into kind of the similarities that they all have. If you didn't watch the previous video, you should do that because it all ties together, especially this one because ST and NT both share thinking, of course. So the kind of main things I'm going to touch on in this video are the technical terms, kind of the understanding of what an NT type is, and then the kind of three big keys to know about an NT, and then how to spot an NT, how to know if you're talking to one, or possibly if you are one and you don't really know your type yet. And then last is the team dynamics, how to be an NT on a team and how to work with an NT on your team as your ally. So first of all, the technical understanding. NT types are intuition and thinking types. Intuition is abstract understanding. It's a perceiving function that helps you gather information. It helps you learn about the world abstractly. It's not really connected to the physical realm and what your sensings can tell you. It's kind of that step back. I call them hunters because they're ranged. They're tracking the target. They're trying to attack it from a distance instead of getting right there and like hands on to it. Thinking is logical decision making. This is a judging function, so it's a decision making function, and it's objective in that sense. It's detached from the kind of human centric ideas and values and emotions and stuff, and it's looking at like, does this information fit? Does it work? Does it make sense? And how can I use that to go forward logically? So within this whole MBTI thing, you also have introverted and extroverted functions, right? So you're going to have different combinations. You can have introverted intuition, extroverted thinking, or extroverted intuition and introverted thinking. And then kind of shuffled up between which is more dominant, which is the one that kind of drives the car, leads the raiding party. So with NI, introverted intuition, and TE, extroverted thinking, this would be like an ENTJ or an INTJ. And this is basically like this perceiving mode, the introverted intuition, this perceiving mode of like detaching and getting in this zen-like state and just letting the answers kind of form. It's not this high-paced mode, right? And it's very general. So it's just kind of taking in all the information, looking for the symbols and images that come about, kind of swapping perspectives or whatever, and getting that kind of understanding of the world. That with extroverted thinking would be kind of taking steps to reach a goal. Logical steps, like what can I do right now to make the first step towards my goal, and then the second, then the third, then the fourth. So you put those together and you have this kind of like slow, chill perceiving function with the ability to just switch on through extroverted thinking and make things happen. And like I said, the ENTJ is more likely to focus on kind of that goal completion, and then back it up, support it with the introverted intuition, detached kind of abstract understanding mode. But again, it gets shuffled around, right? The other ones like ENTP and INTP are going to use extroverted intuition and introverted thinking. Extroverted intuition is also abstract, but it's more fast-paced. It's connected to like the world around. So you see something and then you branch from there, and then that becomes the new topic, and that branches off and that branches off. It just kind of spirals out. It's very high energy, abstract understanding, kind of bridging contexts and just looking for different understandings of it. Plus introverted thinking. So introverted thinking is logical decision making turned inward. So trying to figure out, does this make sense to me? What is the definition of this? How do I understand this? And using that as leverage to make a correct choice. So if, like for example, an ENTP, extroverted intuition is the lead. So they're trying to explore the world first, and then kind of piece together the logical puzzle from that. But INTP is trying to make sense, technical sense of the world first, and in order to do that, they have to kind of search around. They have to use that extroverted intuition and explore ideas to make sense of it. So I think that's about enough for the technical understanding of what an NT type is. Next up, the 3 keys, the 3 big ideas to help you know if you're talking to an NT or if you are an NT. These alchemists are researchers. It's abstract understanding plus thinking. You put those together and you get that idea of they're trying to research things. They're trying to research the world or whatever interests them to make sense of it. You can get that image of like an alchemist in his lab just flipping through books and messing with chemicals and stuff like that, trying to figure out what this thing is, researching it in that sense. It's not necessarily like taking the immediate surroundings and making a plan and going after whatever it is. It's not that directed thinking that I talked about in the blacksmith video previously. Next up is self-improvement. NT types are trying to master themselves. And this could be said about other types too, but it seems to be a general theme through NT types. It's like they're just trying to do the best at whatever it is their focus is on. And in order to do that, they apply the next big key idea, which is the alchemical process, which is basically you have this, I'm simplifying it because this is way out of my league, but you have like the general topic, what you're trying to focus on, and then you break it up, you examine the different pieces of it, and you refine those, and then you use that to help you go forward. It's like creating gold, right? Like back in the day, they were like, well, if I just have this metal and I break it down, put some heat on it and break it up, whatever they gotta do. You can see this is not my realm, right? So they break it up and then they're trying to change those key elements into gold. And that's what alchemists do. That's what these NT types do. They get information abstractly, they strengthen it, I guess, with thinking, with logic, to make sense of it, to see what works, and then they use that to help themselves go forward. Or their team, or whatever the context is. Next up is how to spot an NT. An alchemist, they're not going to be wearing like a lab coat or anything like that, unfortunately. Maybe they should. But you'll see them as kind of these heady people. They're not like super energetic and like bouncing off all over the place. Usually, it's more like you can see that they are in here. When you're talking to them, they'll be like, they'll think about it, bounce kind of around a bit, and be like, yeah, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. Or, yeah, this is the better idea. This is the correct way of approaching this. because they're just in their head. They're able to detach either through introverted intuition or introverted thinking, to detach, cut out the sensory world and what's really going on around them, and pick up on these patterns. It's like they're reading the manual for life, right? Like I was saying before, they're in their lab and they're flipping through this big book of information. And they're just like, if I piece together all this abstract information logically, then I can do whatever I want. I can complete any task. I can master anything I want because all the information is around me in this abstract way. And it's a matter of kind of making sense of it. So extroverted intuition is vague. Like I said, intuition is vague. It's abstract. And it's looking for like, what if, right? Extroverted intuition is going to use words like, well, you get the gist of it, the general idea, you know, that makes sense, right? Like it's kind of just, it's not specific in that sense. And they're okay with that. They're happily out of touch with the senses, right? And the specifics. Sorry, I've got a cold. Also, they're looking at possibilities. Like I said, what if? So it's just like, what if I do this? What's gonna happen? What if I, say this thing to this person? How are they gonna react? I'm kind of curious about it. Let me see. Right? It's just kind of just playing with the world, playing with the dynamics of the situation. I've also noticed that within myself as an INFP, I also use extroverted intuition. It's a lot of kind of wordplay and just kind of combining different words to make a new word, or like shuffling the letters or whatever. My DM for Dungeons and Dragons, I said it. My DM always like makes this elaborate puzzle of the different NPCs and the characters, and it's like, did you know that his name is actually Alan Rickman's name just shuffled up? And you're like, well, why? How would I know that, right? But it's just kind of playing with those words. That's a true story as well. Also, let's see. Introverted intuition is also vague, like I said. But it's more looking for not the possibilities, but the probabilities. And it's like, when this happens, we should do this. Not what if this happens, what if I do this? It's like, no, this is going to happen, so we need to make a plan for it or whatever. They use a lot of words about kind of vision, like it's vague, it's fuzzy, it's blurry. I can't really, wrap my mind around it, like visually. Kind of disappearing, reappearing, ethereal. These kind of like vision-related words and ideas. And their speech kind of flows. It's when they're talking, they'll pull in these ideas. They have this symbol. They talk about the symbol. This is my understanding of it. And they're talking about this symbol, and that symbol kind of like melds and shifts into another symbol that they start talking about. It's kind of just following this line, or this path of ideas, symbolically and imagery based, in order to explain their points. So sometimes they go off in a tangent, but it's not like extroverted intuition. Not like where they just pick one thing and then just bounce all over the place and spread out like a shotgun. It's kind of slower. Extroverted intuition is going to be looking for what works. It's like, hey buddy, how's business? What's going on? Keep me up to date with the goals and progress. Steps 1, 2, 3, all these contingencies. And if-then statements, kind of pushing them towards acting. If this is the case, then we gotta do this. If it rains, then we stay home and play video games. Introverted thinking is more like, does this make sense? Not what works, but does this make technical sense to me? It's binary, it's yes, no, valid, or invalid, not invalid. And it's clarification of ideas. Also using if-then statements too, but it's more towards clarification. If this is true, then this must also be true. Or then this must be false. I think that's enough for the language aspect of it. And as the team dynamics come into play, if you're on a team as an NT, as an alchemist, you are trying to make these potions and stuff to help other people. To make sense of everything. So you want to take the big picture, whatever it is, and help people focus on it. Help people break it down into its little bits and pieces, into its elements, and then use those elements responsibly and to complete the goal or whatever it is. Help people look behind the scenes to see what's going on, and help people kind of detach from whatever pressures are in the current moment and look at that big picture. If you are working with an NT, if you're allied with an NT, let them do that. Let them do that stuff that I just talked about. Let them take their time to make logical sense of the stuff and to use that to take steps forward to complete the goals in whatever balance they gotta do. If it's like an introverted, intuitive, dominant, like an INTJ, give them time, give them like a day or two just to let those ideas kind of bubble up to the surface and figure it out. If it's an extroverted thinker, also TJ types, let them take action, let them take the lead. Be like, man, make a plan, I'll follow it, because I trust you. Because you've been doing this your whole life. Like, this is one of your specialties, one of your superpowers. If it's extroverted, intuitive, like an NP type, let them just brainstorm. Let them get all that information out, and maybe you or maybe somebody else can kind of take that and refine it and make it more usable. And for the TI types, introverted thinking types, also TP types, let them just make the clear explanations of everything. Let them make sure everybody knows exactly what this means and where we're going with that. Like, let them kind of throw in that logic, right? And just make sense of the puzzles, classify, categorize, and do all that stuff. Also, help them, if you're a feeler, help them kind of relate to the human dynamics a little bit. Be like, not everybody feels this way, and feelings can be important sometimes. So, kind of ease that information in there. And also, be prepared to back up whatever your opinions are and whatever you say. Especially if it's like an NTP, in my opinion. Because if you say something, they'll be like, no, I don't really, that doesn't make sense. So explain it again in a way that makes sense, or it's not true. I'm not trying to like rag on the NT types or anything like that. I have many in my life, and they're all very special to me. Okay, I've been ranting so much this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you stuck through all of this, I hope that it was all helpful. I hope that you have this better understanding of alchemists, these NT types, and the power that they can bring to a situation. So stay tuned for the next video. It will be on SF. that's what we're going to do. It'll be on the SF types. And thank you very much for watching. Peace.